Assalamu alaikum everyone, good evening. My name's Farah Halaby and I am a transformational life coach, and I'd like to talk to you today about the past and the present and the future. So I'd like to talk to you about time really, but also how we perceive time, what we do with it, how we choose to spend it. And something that's come up time and time again with a lot of the people that I work with is this perception that the past, whatever's happened in the past, whatever has gone on, and whatever's happening right now as well, that this is what it's going to be like. Like the past is going to dictate the future, that what's happened in the past is indicative of somehow what's going to happen in the future. And when we're making decisions based on either what's happened in the past or what we think is going on for us right now, it's really difficult to make decisions based on something other than the habitual or the common themes that have been played out already. So we're stuck almost in a place where we're making decisions based on not what could happen, not what is possibly going to happen, what is possible in the future, but what has been dictated by what the constructs of the past have suggested or the constructs of the present have suggested. So again, when we're trying to look for other ways of doing stuff, we go to our familiar, habitual kind of thinking. And if it states that the past was what it was and therefore the future is going to be exactly the same, then the decisions that we make are almost not decisions in themselves. It's almost like just following the same old path then, because if I already know what's going to happen in the future because of what's based on the past, if the past equals the future, then, really what effect or what cause or what can I do about it? But it's actually when we look and realise and see that the past has gone, it has happened. Everything that was brought together, all of the things, all of the circumstances, all of the players in that story, if you like, even you were different then, because it's our actions, our reality is based on how we perceive it, but also how our feelings, how our thinking, and what we do with that feeling and thinking, what we do with that, what we do in our actions, how we behave, how we go out in life. And just because we did something in the past, or we maybe did a few things quite similar, it does not dictate that we are going to be the same in the future. So when we look to, again, when we get ourselves caught up in the thinking that the past equals the future, that's inherently where there's this kind of misalignment. Because now we're not planning a future, we're not trying to create a future, we're almost waiting. It's almost like autopilot. It's almost like, knowing that what's going to happen. It's like watching a film, pressing pause and thinking, if I forward the button, I know what it's going to be. It's just going to be the same old. But if we just stopped for a second and thought, no, how our experience is actually created, how our actions and what we actually do is what will power the result of what goes on in our lives. We have a choice over that. We have control over that. We have an element, absolutely, of control in what we do. It's what we think about what we're going to do. And if we think that we're constricted to the past, then our behaviours in the present will dictate that. And then the future will be the same old. But how about if it wasn't? How about if we stopped and we paused and we realised that the future, what is going on, is how we perceive it. And the element of control that we have is in what we do. And through that lens of creating our future, creating what we do, creating our future through what we do, through the actions that we take. As people, and I say this very much as a mum and as a woman, that sometimes there is this perception that we just keep going, we just, multitasking. It's almost like the more things that we can do, the more things that we can fill our day with, the actions, the doing, all the busy stuff, the to-do lists and all of that. You think, okay, I can, cook dinner whilst being on a phone call, whilst, looking after my kids and having a conversation with my husband all at the same time. Out of those 4 tasks, how much effort, how much focus, how much attention are you giving each of those 4 tasks if you are trying to do them all at the same time? And, as women and as mums, sometimes we do pride ourselves on being able to multitask. And from the surface, looks great. But from the inside, it's just like being, it's like trying to keep 4 balls in the air. And then plus you've got all the thinking inside as well, keeping 4 plates spinning. Even if one of them doesn't drop, you have to kind of move around. So what focus are you giving each plate? What focus in that moment are you giving your children? What focus are you giving the meal that you're preparing, or the conversation that you're having with your husband, or the important phone call that you're on? So let's squash multitasking. If we focus on one task at a time and not the multitasking, if we're focusing our attention and our efforts, we're more likely to get that one task done, dusted, with focus and attention, and then we can move on to the others. Or even if we are able to bring it into bite-sized manageable chunks, even if it's a massive big task, we can at least have a go, we can at least crack on with it, but knowing that that is the sole thing that we need to sort out in that moment. Because it's a bit like the saying, are you a jack of all trades and a master of none? It's trying to do lots of different things, trying your hand a lot, trying your best, giving it a go. But really, when you focus in on one thing, you give it all, you give it your presence, you give it your focus, you give it your attention, you give it your concentration. The effect of that effort is going to be amplified, because if that's the only thing that you've got your mind on, if you are there in mind, body and soul, then whatever it is that you're trying to do, even if it is having a conversation with your child, even if it is having that conversation with your partner, or, cooking, just focusing on that, then you can crack on with all of the other things, instead of trying to do 4 things mediocre, kind of just getting, just getting through, just getting them done, not really thinking about the quality. It's really just, the fact that they're done, ticked on the to-do list, done. But let's just say that you were, focusing on one of those things, you're giving it your all, you're going to find something different in that. You might find that, focusing just on the cooking, that you chuck in a few things that you might want to experiment with. It might not take as long as you think. That conversation with your husband, you don't have to repeat yourself afterwards, or he doesn't have to ask you if you've heard what he's saying, or there's not going to be that much comeback. You've had a decent conversation, you're there, you're present, you're listening. He's going to feel the difference. Or if you're talking to your wife, she's going to feel the difference. But even when you're talking to your children, our children know when we are listening to them. Our children know when we're there in body, but up here, no one's home. They know that. And in that moment, they are looking to connect with you. They are looking to tell you the most important thing, because right there and then, what they've got to say is the most important thing to them, because it is the only thing on their minds. If you want to know how to get focused and determined, just watch your children. Watch a 3-year-old, amazingly articulate and execute, something that they want. They are focused, they are determined, they are, they've got one goal, and that is to get mummy or daddy to do whatever it is that they want. Take a leaf out of their book, because subhanallah, when you focus on one, or even if it has to be, more than one thing, but just 2 smaller things that are easier to kind of, get your focus and attention on, you are more likely to finish those 2 tasks, to completion, to whatever it is, whatever good result is for you. But then you will have time to crack on with the other ones, the other things that you've got to do. So in this live, what does it mean for you? What comes up for you when I say that your past is not indicative of your future, that the past does not equal the future? And what comes up for you when I would, if I was to say to you, completely park the to-do list, focus on one thing at a time? Does that sit well with you? Are you the type of person that just feels as if, they're busy, getting, all day long, just doing loads of things, but really you can be really, really busy and get absolutely nothing done, or get less done than you think, when you focus on one thing, doing it properly, that whatever properly means for you, but just doing it with the fullest of your attention and focus. How does that feel, just taking one thing at a time? Does that make you feel a bit, I don't know, bit bizarre? I'll ask you, how, if you'd like to pop in the comments how that makes you feel. I'd love to know. And again, if you don't feel confident popping in the public comments, then please drop me a private message, because this stuff really it comes up a lot with the amazing people that I get to work with. It is this sense of, I know how this story goes, it's not as if I can plan anything amazing, because just by the process of what's happened in the past, I kind of think I know what's coming. And so even it squashes that need to even try. It's almost like you can tell what's going to come because of what's happened in the past. But do we ever know really? If any of us thought last year what was about to happen, you know, we're coming up to a year since this pandemic started in the UK at least. At this time last year, February the 9th, 2020, did anyone have an inkling of what was to come? You know, if we were going to determine our future by our past, this is not what it was the year before. So things happen that we have absolutely no idea about. So let's just say you did. Thank you, my love. You did park that assumption of the past equaling the future. What's left for you? Where does that leave you? What does that bring up for you? I would really love to know. But as always, I shall leave you with this to ponder. And if you're watching this on the replay, please hashtag replay. And inshallah, I look forward to reading the comments. But what comes up to you? What comes up for you when I say the past does not equal the future, and focusing on one thing at a time, being there in body, mind, spirit, and soul. You know, all of who we are, focusing your whole attention onto one thing at a time. Does that make you feel icky? Does it make you feel, oh, can't possibly do that? Or does that seem like a really good idea? Again, love to know. Pop it in the comments. But for now, as always, I pray that you are safe, happy, well, and healthy. And inshallah, I'll be on tomorrow for another conversation. But for now, take care. Assalamu alaikum.